guys, so I'd just like to quickly introduce the Trimble Field Points for Revit plugin. So this plugin will allow you to generate the points required for setting out using the Trimble total stations, RPT 600 and any other setting out device, to be fair. So this is a Revit plugin. I'm just going to head up to the settings cog on the top right of this screen. This ribbon here. Always worthwhile checking these. So we can see here our annotation settings, how we want those to appear, how we want leaders if we require leaders, where we want our text usually to be positioned, as well as our offsets. Going to our general attributes here, we can type in standard attributes for every point that we create, but just for checking we can close that there. So into Field Points we have a couple of different options. So this is a sample model. So if I say I wanted to place a couple of manual points, these aren't necessarily in Revit families, aren't necessarily along the lines or anything similar to that, but I want to place something manually. Say here I've got a slab and I want to tag this into a group of structure. So I can generate these groups just by adding them in. Many as I wish will help us turn on and off our points later on when we do come to site. So here I'm going to say, okay, this is my structural slab base. I'm going to choose my entity name. So my entity name is going to be 3D cones or circles, basically whatever I want the points to appear as. So I'm going to choose a square with an X within it. If I choose place, what you'll see now is this is going to allow me to insert these points manually using our standard Revit commands. So if I wanted to snap end, I just go SE, hit the end point there. This has now entered this right on the fixed elevation here. If I choose over here as well, let's say I just wanted to set out some of my structural slab corners, I can generate those points there. So those points now, if I just wanted to generate points manually, I could click as many times as I wished across the site and generate those points for setting out. But what I'm going to do is we're going to generate some automatically here. So if I select here, we have some form of receptacle. I'm going to say across all of these receptacles here, I want you to generate 4 corners across this family. Navigate into the family, go into the Trimble Field Points plugin, and what we'll see is we will have place marker. If I press place marker and place, what I'm able to do now is I can snap these to the face of an object. So say I wanted to set out the 4 corners of the receptacle here. Let's go to those 4 points. This I can now load into the project, overwrite my existing version, and what we'll see on each of these receptacles now is we'll see those 4 points appear. So those 4 points will stay within the family. We can see them just popping up there. So any one of those receptacles, we can just about see them poking through some of the walls. So I now have the ability to generate the setting out points automatically. You'll notice as it's in the Revit family, the rotation, the position does not affect the position of the set out points that we generate. So I'm going to use one of the different tools that we have within Trimble Field Points now, which is place points over markers. So we generated the markers within Trimble, within the family editor. If I now go and select the receptacle that I've inserted those field points in, for this one I'm going to choose 3D box. Now I'm going to name these, we're going to put them in the electrical there, in our group for electrical. Annotations we can have as automatic or none. We can assign a prefix as well for these points. So if I wanted, first floor, second floor, if I wanted just EL to signify this particular side of things, if I wanted to prefix with whatever circuit these are assigned to, no problem at all. We can enter all that information here. The placement settings, so there's a couple here. I could either assign everything at a fixed elevation, which is very handy if we're going to be setting something out on a ceiling slab or on the structural slab. We can assign that here and choose that fixed elevation. We can go distance above work plane or object snap elevation, or at work plane object snap elevation. If I want to put in any attributes here, rather than have just the defaults, I can insert these now. We can see there's some that have been populated through Revit here. So anything that will come through, we will get across into the attributes within Field Points and Field Link when we eventually put it in. If I press place, what's going to happen now is it's going to populate every single family with these 4 points, which I'm now going to be able to export. When these points are generated, we can now see the cubes that I chose to go around each of these have populated across the entire model. Looking at the other options that we have within Trimble Field Points, I can have a look at some of the other tools. So we have place tracing points, so we can create a point down a line. Same here that we have place points over a path, so if we had a path we can generate points at specific areas, specific dimensions down here, endpoints, midpoints, maybe 1.5 intervals, and we can choose this tool here. Grid points, this will allow us to place points at the intersections of a grid line of a building. So if you have your grid lines within your Revit model, we can generate those points automatically here. The place points over family, so very quickly, if I was more interested in choosing and just inserting points automatically over the insertion point of a particular Revit family, if I chose maybe 3D cone for this instance and found this family here, one of our round lights, if I press place, rather than us having to go into the family editor itself, it's going to generate those points on the insertion points. We'll try another one. Place points over family. Let's select our living as and press place. Look at some of the other tools that we have here. So we can choose place control points. These control points are going to be something that we can use within Trimble Field Points for setting out and setting our position of our total station, our laser scanner, or our RPT 600. So we can define these here and they will come across as control points within Field Link. The field point properties, there's not really much to change in here, but if we define some field points, we can then renumber our grid points to try and get them different to everything else. Same with the annotations, so I can place annotations or manually place annotations. So if I chose a particular model, I could place annotations manually as opposed to automatically over the project. I've placed these automatically, so we can leave them as they are. The report side of things, so the report now is just going to report on the field points that I've got contained within the model. What it's going to do if I go out and I set out my field points, if I then got our engineer to bring back later on in the day the points that he has set out, I can import and then run a report on the deviation between the actual position and the staked position from where that guy has set that out. The import and edit points file I could choose here, and then the interesting ones here that we have are to send everything out to Trimble Connect, which is our web platform. And I also have the ability to publish straight out into a Trimble Field Link file. So if I press the button here, I can select all from our current view. It is now going to populate a file, select all of the Trimble field points so we can go and take these to set out on site. So we'll include all groups. We can see now we got 1,795 points within this file. I can choose here whether to use the shared coordinates or not, and whether I want to put the exports on a separate layer. I'll just leave them on 0. Including background entities will allow me to export the model itself, but for this, all I'm going to do is we're going to go onto my desktop. I'm just going to export this file. In a few seconds I'll then have a file which I can send across by an email and put on a USB stick to give to the guy that's going to go out setting this out, and it will open straight in the file, which I'll show in just a second. As you can see, I've just gone into my Trimble Field Link software. I've gone into More, Jobs and Manage. I've then chosen this project. So this project has opened with all of these points that we have defined. We can see all those 4 around each box, as well as some single points. Now these points are going to store all of the attribute information that we installed into them. So if I select one of these points, because I wasn't sure what it was, we'll be able to see that it's the structure and it's in the slab group. So I can see these very quickly. Jump across to some other stuff. We can see this is a LEC, so I know straight away this is an electrical point that I need to set out. Choosing these, we'll see the attributes that are going to come through from the Revit file itself. Now, all I need to do to finish this off is to import our CAD model if I wish. So I'll just import the CAD model, and then these points will mean a bit more than they currently do. With our Revit model now imported, we can see these points. As with our context there, we can see some of these light fittings where I inserted as per the insertion point rather than certain points around the boxes in this case. We'll also be able to see some of the points that I've inserted over here. So all of the insertion points. I can obviously then use Field Link as I normally would, turning my solid model on, my solid model off. I can generate clipping planes, so if I was particularly working in one area for one day, I can then say, okay, I'm only going to be working down this corridor. That's all I want to see, and I'm only on the ground floor. Very quickly see those points hiding around the boxes there. If I want to turn the solid model off, once I've found my bearings, there we go, we can see the points, and I'm straight into my normal Trimble Field Link setting out methodology. When it comes back to it, if I go back to Jobs and Export, I can export either my drawing file, SketchUp files, CSVs or Excel files for designed or staked position. But as it's a Field Link file, and I'm going to import it back into Trimble Field Points, I can just save as the job file itself and import that back in the office in either Revit or AutoCAD.